Hey, Kinder and First leaders, welcome back. This week is September week number 2 as we keep diving into friendship and how we are supposed to choose our friends carefully, which is what we learned last week. And today we are learning friends keep their promises. And so it is a story about David and Mephizobeth, I don't know, something like that. Okay. And so what is going on is basically David and Jonathan was a friend of David. And basically what happened is when David takes over the kingship, he remembers his promise to Jonathan, and that promise was to take care of Jonathan's family when he became king, because everyone knew that David was going to be king. That was already given by the prophets. And so basically, what you're doing is David keeps his promise by finding Mephibosheth, whatever it may be, and is actually keeping that promise that he made to Jonathan, because that is Jonathan's son and takes care of his family. And so we're talking about keeping our promises this week. And so as we do this first one, you're doing a promise, something that you're going to try to do, right? Okay, and so this first one, when kids start arriving, go ahead and be like, I promise to make you smile. And so have them pair up if you have enough kids, or you can start this off with the kids that you have in the room. When they start coming in, be like, I promise to make you smile. And then what you're trying to do is make them smile without touching them. So you're doing some sort of funny gesture, whatever it may be, to get them to smile. And hopefully you can keep that promise and actually make them smile, depending on the child. But most of those Kinder-1st, you should be able to make them smile pretty good, and it should be pretty funny. Okay, this next one, you have some stuffed animals and some tambourines. And basically what you're doing is you're putting the stuffed animal in the middle of a circle. And so once, you have the kids with the circle, you put the stuffed animal in the middle, and you're going to act like, you're going to pretend like the animal's asleep, okay? And you're going to be like, I promise to keep the animal asleep. And there's like a little chant. If you wanted the little chant, I thought the chant was, I kept it in there because whatever. But anyway, whether you do the chant or just say like, we're trying to keep the animal asleep, like either one works. And then you hand one of the musical noisy things like the tambourines to the children, and you're going to pass that around the circle and try not to make a lot of noise with that, because it's trying to still be in that whisper tone. You can act like the animal is waking up if they're being a little bit too loud or something like that. But all of that is to promise to try to keep that animal asleep, by not making too much noise. That's the funny part of it. And then you have your prayer activity after you do your large group stuff. And so go ahead and do your worship videos. Go ahead and, pick a couple of those, then do the Bible stories and all of that. And when you go into the Bible story, you're going to learn about that Mephibosheth and David. That's how you say it, Mephibosheth. Got it that time. And then go into your prayer activity after that. Follow up with those prayer requests. I did end up combining more of the folders this week, and so there should be less folders in there so you guys can kind of find all the stuff a little bit faster. We're going to go back to that model this week, okay? Now you have your after story 1, and what you're doing here is you have some music and whatnot that you're playing, and you're trying to basically recap all the things that happened in the story. And so think, go ahead and like have the children maybe discuss those different things, like what are some things that happened in the story, and maybe they can bring some of those things back to memory. And what you're doing is you're playing some music and you're leading the kids to move around the room, but like some sort of food, if you want to do it like that, just to make it a little extra fun, right? When you stop the music, you're guiding them to quickly partner with someone, and then they call out, and then you're going to call out a promise scenario that is on the paper, or make up your own. If it's a promise that they can keep, then they're supposed to call out the bottom line, which is friends keep their promises. If they can't keep this promise, then they're supposed to sit down, okay? And so the goal is to have everyone doing the same thing, because they understand what a good promise is, and a promise that they can keep is, versus a promise that they can't keep, right? And so can you promise to share your toy is the first one. And some kids honestly might answer like, no, I can't do that, and sit down. Other kids might be like, yeah, I can promise to share my toys, and stand up, and then state that bottom line of friends keep their promises, right? And then there's a couple of them in here that are like way out of craziness. And so those are the ones that obviously everyone is supposed to sit down on, even though they're probably going to try to be funny and stand up anyway for those. But anyway, I'm gonna be like, no, we can't keep that promise. Of course not. Now you have for your next activity, you have a Trey Tiberius. These things, activity page. And what you're doing is you're giving one of these to each kid. The thing is to basically work on the promises that are kept and the promises that are not kept, okay? And so it looks like a tray table of food that they might get at school or something like that. But what you're doing is like, these are the different images from this Bible story that kind of re-spark the promises that were kept and the promises that weren't. And so they're supposed to like fill in the thumbs down if the promise was not kept and the thumbs up if the promise was kept, okay? And so go through this, and then on the back of this, they can also kind of draw their own favorite part of the story. So that's kind of a good creative thing for them to do on the back of these, okay? And then there's some good paragraphs at the bottom of that page as well, where you know, you can kind of talk about how friends should keep their promises in those moments. And then next you have the memory verse activity. And what you're doing with this is basically you have another activity page, which is like a sticker that goes along with this. And so they can each get one of their own stickers. But then you also have some index cards on here. And we're not going to do the laminating part of this, but what you're basically doing is go ahead and read the verse out loud to them, like open it up in their Bibles and look through that as well. And you're going to go through the hand motion signs of the memory verse too. And those are also on pieces of papers in this folder as well. Okay. Then you're going to give them each one of those little index cards, and they're going to draw a way that they can keep a promise to love or to help a friend or something like that. So they're going to find a promise that they can keep to someone that they love or a friend that they know or something like that, right? And then all of it should be positive, encouraging, that kind of thing. And so that's what their promise should be. Then on the opposite side, the back side of it, they can also write the memory verse. As much as they're able, they may only be able to write a few words, and that's totally cool. If they even just write a friend loves, like they should all be able to do that at this point, even if they can't write the whole verse. But go ahead and have them write the verse on one side, and then I promise that they can keep to a friend or a family member on the other side. And that will be a promise that they can take home and hopefully keep that promise this week. And that's it for this week, guys. Thank you guys so much for all that you guys do. We'll see you guys in a little bit.